going to go through these books. I don't know how many of them. I'll see how many I get through. Yeah. But I did a lot of reading over the winter.
Over the last year, but over the winter especially.
And so I'm going over some of the books. I didn't care for these ones that much, I think. Or maybe, well, anyway, these ones I don't plan on keeping. So I suppose I don't care for them enough to keep them. So, I guess I'll start with this one, Winter Moon. I wrote, boring and pointless. Well, the last story was okay. So that's my review for that one. Secret Whispers. It reminded me of being a teen again.
Wow.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. I enjoyed reading this up until the ending. The story seemed... Oh, I should tell you, this is Dragon's Eye. Tired, 6 in the morning.
Almost exactly, yeah.
The story seemed to be building up to something, and the characters were developing nicely, and then it ended nowhere. I'm writing a book about dragons with an eye and an egg, but they aren't at all the same. I do like the author's way of calling the egg a dawn egg, or calling the eye, what was it? I don't know, can't remember. Since when most talk of dragons, they think of them coming from the east, don't they? It took me a while to bother to read this one since the cover looked preppy teen, girl or gay boy, but unattractive somehow, even though the young man is attractive, but not at all my type. Anyhow, I would be willing to read more by this author, as he does have a good handle on English and writing, but I hope the next thing I read by him actually goes somewhere. Muddle Earth.
Muddle Earth, eh?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a satire or something like that?
Yeah, what did I write? I don't even know where I wrote in this. Gosh.
A parody, I should say.
Well, anyway.
I just woke up.
I don't know where I wrote the comment for it, but I actually thought a little boy might like this.
I wonder when that was written.
It's not bad. Where did I write the comment for this one, too? I don't know. Losing things.
Do you remember
Anyway.
what it was like?
Maybe I wrote something in this one, because these are by the same. Yeah, I remember them. They're awful. Okay. Elric Saga Part 1 and 2. They were awful.
Oh.
Can't believe I read 1, let alone 2. Awful. China Bee. There's a lot of descriptive writing about the setting and culture, which both suck.
About China or what? San Fran?
Chinatown.
Just anywhere. Okay.
Well, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, it always seems to me.
Okay, if it matters to you. And the whores, who also suck. Detective Jack Yu appears to be done with the whores. The author needs to learn how to actually wrap this stuff around a story. It's really lacking. The story is barely there. What I did find interesting is that someone wrote language warning a couple pages in. I'd say the mention of ball peen hammers smashing out eyeballs, or 6-year-old and 10-year-olds being sodomized is more worthy of warning people about than the occasional F-bomb. But I did like the fact that somebody wrote language warning. Now all of these books were discarded public library books. And so my guess is whoever wrote that in there shouldn't have, they didn't have permission to do so. But I think that that's actually, James and I have, Paris, stop eating my seedlings! Get down! Get down! She's been doing this. She's taken all my tomato plants down. Get down! Come on now.
That's why Elvis was so interested.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy. For somebody who can't see anymore, she really monkeys around. She was right up there, munching away, because she's done all the tomato plants in the pots that she can reach just by ramping up. So she'd climbed right in to get at the ones in the back now.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to watch her. So
She's pretty agile. How old is she now? We got her 2012, and 9 years ago, and
she was 5.
She was 5, so she's 14 years old. Over 14. About 14.
But she has cataracts, so she can't see very well.
No.
Well enough to get Annafred. Oh, she gave Annafred some ideas. Annafred was looking up there. She's like, "Can I get up there?" "No, you can't, because you're a big girl. Too big." Anyway, James and I have been talking about censorship a lot lately, and how we don't agree with it. But there's been times when I've gotten things from the library, and I did a review of something, and I'm like, whoever brought that in should be fired. So we all succumb to feeling that way, right? Feeling, I want to burn my eyes out after seeing whatever, right? But really, I don't believe the public library should censor things. I think what they should do is they should have a censor warning, just a little thing. And this one doesn't have to, like, it just has to say whatever, some sort of warning, and then have a link to, you can check it out on their website or whatever for more information. It doesn't even have to say language warning or sexual violence or whatever, right? But I think, public libraries should look into that, because I don't think things should be necessarily pulled off the shelves, but people should be maybe warned about some things, because obviously the person who read this, they were like, "Oh, language," and which doesn't bother me, but it obviously bothered that person. So the casual vacancy, I bookmarked something in here and I don't know why, and I didn't write anyway. Oh, all I wrote is, why do we say posthumously rather than posthumously after composting? I'm guessing that's where it comes from, right? It's like after you're dead, after you've become compost. I don't know.
It's hard to say. I think it has to do with humus and soil.
I actually enjoyed this a lot.
It's after burial.
I was wondering, I read this after I went through the Harry Potter stuff, because I was thinking, okay, well, I had this around too, because I was wondering, well, where did she go after that, and because you wanted to write some adult stuff, and I remembered that this wasn't, it didn't get good reviews and stuff. People were, I guess they wanted more Harry Potter, and this was not that at all. But honestly, I thought this was really, really well crafted. I was impressed. I liked this a lot.
People would have seen her as a sellout, and it'd be hard for her to. I'm surprised she didn't do the Agatha Christie thing and write under a pseudonym.
Oh,
that she's writing.
That probably would have worked better. Yeah. Okay, so this one, she plays with the darkness. Great start to the novel. There were a lot of spelling mistakes and such, but the story was interesting. All of the characters were awful people, and the rape conviction was interesting. It shows how different cultures can be. I should mention that I don't think the author had really planned out the story. The title and cover art suggest the story will be about a certain woman, and it is for a while. After a bit, the story's focus changes to an ambulance-chasing lawyer. Whatever. I got through it easily. Memoranda. I honestly couldn't follow it well with all of the memory stuff. The last line of the book was excellent, though. What was it?
Maybe you shouldn't give it away.
Oh, maybe I shouldn't give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I shouldn't give it away. It's a good lesson. Really good. If you want to read it. The Handbook to Luck. I didn't see the point to this story. I didn't like how it jumped around between characters and didn't see any point to that. I didn't mind reading the book, but it ended nowhere and left me feeling like I'd gotten nothing out of the experience of having put so much time into reading this book. Sanctuary. Everyone needs someone to love, and it can take a lot of heartbreak before love is found. Still, this book, although it took little time to read, was not worth the time. Wind in the Stone. Have you ever read a book and thought, did anything at all happen? There was nothing noteworthy here. What a waste of time. How is this author highly regarded? How has she published many books? Evil angels among them. I enjoyed the mystery well enough. Someone had put in spelling corrections in the book, but didn't correct the nauseated mistake. Still, this was an interesting mystery since it was more about various people's sexual behaviors / lifestyles than it was about a mysterious death of a woman. There's a lesbian couple who are loving and healthy, a married woman who is having an affair with a man whose wife is dying, is making inappropriate gestures toward other married women, etc. So the mystery here really is, why do people inappropriately insert themselves into other people's sex lives? The Book of Murder. I enjoyed reading this. It's not a great mystery, but it is enjoyable. I flew through it.
Pause down, please.
Demonology. The cover reminded me of my mom, so I liked it. Not that she's a demon. She's not a demon. I think the author's a yellow. He knows some impressive words and he'd be better off speaking them. He writes as though he hasn't read quite enough of other people's work. I also get the impression that this was a first draft. Having said that, I am getting through this quickly, so it can't be so bad. Calling some of these stories is a stretch. Boys was more of an experiment. Wilkie was misplaced here, and surplus value books was offensively used as a short story when in actuality it belonged in a for sale section of a literary magazine at the author's expense for the ad rather than in a book at his reader's expense. Still, I didn't hate reading this book. Renfield. Dreadful. For one thing, who wants to identify with Renfield or know more about him? 20th century cusp? That doesn't seem right. Middle Ages seems right. Finally, there really wasn't a story here. No climax, no character development, nothing. What a waste of a day. Bitten.
Come here, girl. Come here, girl.
I felt like a teen reading it, but I enjoyed the experience. I liked reading a werewolf story set in Canada. The author writes well, enough that I didn't want to put it down for too long. I just noticed one of my little werewolf cubs took a taste for the corner of the book. I miss puppies, even though they are exhausting.
Good candy. Good chewing, huh?
So that's the one to read if you're going to read one of the books.
Yeah.
That's
the
it.
dog had good taste then.
Anyway.
We didn't record which puppy it was, so.
How could I know?
Oh.
I just found it like that.
Tornado's a good guess.
He chewed everything.
Yeah, he did.
He'd go through recliners.
Buttons on my shirt.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Oh, you got a picture of me once with my shirt buttons all chewed up. And he was like sleeping on my chest or something like that. And I was just zonked. I think I was basically sleeping because I was working evenings and then trying to sleep during the day. And he was...
Oh, that boy took a lot of work to raise. Whew.
It was him that helped bring out the cancer.
Yeah, he was so exhausting. Yeah, he was
Incidentally, he's the one who is a 35-pound basset hound. Good sense of smell, eh?
Oh, James would go out and he'd
He's
say,
the
"Where's
one-
Pauline?" And
Oh.
he'd track me down. He'd
Yeah.
know,
He'd know. Well,
He wouldn't even take the same path. Sometimes he wasn't interested
Well-
in the way that I'd went or what,
well,
but he'd
know.
find me.
Pauline would. One time, I tracked her down to London Drugs, which is several blocks away. So once he started the track, then he knew where you were going. Right? So
Well,
he took an
yeah,
alternative
that's probably
route that
true
was a bit
because
more
I'm
exciting.
a creature of habit, right?
Yeah.
So I go to the same places where I haven't went to London Drugs much because it moved.
Yeah.
But so I don't go there anymore.
That was hilarious, and we met Pauline just as she was coming off the lot of London Drugs. He got exactly right.
But yeah, we have so many great tornado stories. He was a character.
But yeah, he diagnosed me with cancer before the doctors did.
Yeah.
Appalling. Yeah, he was sniffing me,
Okay.
and he had these sad eyes. And ordinarily, basset hound sad eyes aren't really sad, but he seemed sad. He just looked at me like this, like he was kind of saying, "You poor fellow." And I can remember thinking to myself, this was around Labor Day, a little bit before possibly 2010, and the idiot doctors didn't. Well, it wasn't an idiot doctor who diagnosed me, but he was the last of the line. 10 idiot doctors. He was the 11th, and he was a right-on dude. But I wasn't diagnosed until something like the 15th of July the next year. So September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. He's 10 and a half months ahead of the time. So you GPs out there, you're really GMPs. 90% of you. What does that stand for? Not general practitioner. General malpractitioner. Wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah, tornado was... I have good memories from tornado. As exhausting as he was. I loved... I figured out how to train tornado... teach. I really don't like train. Teach tornado that baths aren't a scary thing. So when he was just a little baby puppy, I'd go in the bath, and once it cooled down to a comfortable temperature for a puppy, not, because I take my baths hot.
Very hot.
But then I'd lay in there and I'd put tornado on my chest, and so he just had a little bit of water underneath him, right? And he knew he was safe and stuff. And I never had a problem with him, with baths. Other dogs, they're hiding under furniture. I don't want to have a bath or whatever. But nope, not him. He liked the bath.
Never had a problem with his house training. I mean, it's always a problem right at the first. But,
Yeah.
he was
so smart. So smart.
Now, he did have problems. If you took him for a walk
he had some.
on a return trip, he wanted a different walk. He didn't want to come back the same route.
Back the same way. So
he'd start chewing
he'd start
at
biting your ankles.
Well, if you had
He'd do my
pants, he'd
ankles.
chew up your pant leg. But
Yeah.
if you weren't wearing pants, then like Pauline would be wearing
A
shorts
skirt
or a skirt,
Yeah.
and then he'd go after her ankles. So
Yeah, it was painful.
at first I had trouble figuring out what was happening. Why was he doing that?
Yeah.
Because on
he
the
liked
outward trip he
variety.
wouldn't. I was going, is he impatient with the walk or something? But like with walking itself, no, it was the walk.
Yeah.
And even if you went down the other side of the street, that wasn't enough. Like the same street, other side wasn't enough. He wanted to see different things. Now, we have one dog here, the older dog, who kind of used to vocalize when she'd recognize a place. But that's when I started to realize that dogs have incredible memories for location. Now, initially, what would happen is, I first noticed it when we were in Grand Prairie, going back to Pauline's mom's place. And it would be like, we'd be making a left-hand turn, and then a right-hand turn, and then another right-hand turn, and then another right-hand turn. So with that left-hand turn, she'd start whimpering with excitement. And I finally
you're
realized, I thought
You're
she was
jealous.
memorizing the route,
You're jealous.
but like the turns or something like that. But no, she memorizes houses along the way.
Oh,
So we were in Lethbridge one time going a different route.
I bet you 'cause
So
you're
ordinarily I go straight down
pushing
12th Avenue, or back 12th Avenue. But this one time I came up 20th Street and then was turning onto 12th Avenue. So it was a turn I'd never taken before with her in the car. And she started whimpering. That means she wasn't memorizing turns, she'd memorized the houses at this corner just from having gone through it many different times, but not that many times. And then you start thinking, oh, that's how they survive out in the wild. As wolves, they've got to memorize all sorts of places, because if you forget where water is or whatever, well, you're in trouble.
Well, they'd probably be able to smell that one.
Okay. How about where you cache something? How do you remember where you cache something?
Yeah.
Do you smell it? Eventually, you get to smell it, I suppose. But no, I wish someone would do some studies. Of course, everyone's out there. Well, academics are sitting around with their in their ivory towers, and they just take things slowly. I'm reminded of the Human Genome Project. Now, the guy who came up with the idea for the Human Genome Project, he's an awful person. He's probably pretty bright, but awful person who wanted to patent people's genes, if you can believe it. And I think it was in more than one case. I think hopefully he was slammed dunk. It's awful. Compare Jonas Salk. He came up with a polio vaccine. They just said, here it is for the world. I don't want any money out of it. Apparently that's what happened. So this guy who came up, shame on you human genome thing, but at least he's a bright kind of person. What happens is the public enterprise, the universities and stuff like that, they were going on, oh, we'll get it eventually. We'll come up with it eventually. Yeah, sure you will. Lazy lugs. What was that?
Elvis was wagging his tail every time he heard his name called, but he wouldn't come.
Well, what were they seeing down there? Do you know? Was it a skunk or?
I don't know. I couldn't see it. I figure it was probably a cat, but
yeah, it could be. The cat's kind of like teasing the dogs. They know the dogs can't get out, so they'll just hang around. They'll be looking.
Yeah, it's probably a fun game for them. Anyway. Oh, there we go.